Nonsensical plot points, murders that go unnoticed, and a packed graveyard no one can find. Yellowstone may be a critically acclaimed drama with a huge fan base, but there are plenty of details about the show that don't add up.
You're gonna have to prove yourself if you want a chance. You gotta pay a price if you want to work for me.
Rip Wheeler comes to the Dutton ranch as a broken, panicked teenager, and John takes the boy under his wing. Rip fled from home after killing his abusive stepfather. The man had murdered both Rip's mother and brother. John gives Rip a choice between facing legal consequences for his actions and working on the ranch, and the boy chooses the latter.
You'll be part of this ranch until the day you die, and you will do for this ranch what I say do.
Rip becomes John's muscle and right-hand man, and gets involved in some criminal activities as a result. And John's powerful connections could theoretically forge Rip a new identity and allow him to live life. But Rip tells Beth they can't legally marry as he doesn't exist. Rip is a vital part of the ranch's operations. Wouldn't his lack of a driver's license, bank account, and social security number attract questions from those who have business in Yellowstone? A teenage Rip killed his stepfather in self-defense. Would he really need to live without an identity for the rest of his life? In the first episode of Season 1, the eldest son and heir apparent of the Yellowstone Ranch, Lee Dutton, is killed in a gunfight. Typically, his death should cause his family grief. Yet after his death, Lee's name is rarely mentioned and he's given zero backstory.
I see a life I gotta feed and defend until it grows up and feeds me.
This feels especially odd in a show where family bonds run deep. After all, family is what causes Beth to move back home and is responsible for Jamie's career trajectory. The tragic death of matriarch Evelyn leaves an indelible mark on the family, and she shows up in flashback scenes. Beth carries the self-imposed weight of blame for her mother's death. So shouldn't Lee's more recent death play a part in the show? Lee's demise could have shaped his family's character development, but instead, he's barely even an afterthought. Murder is the Duttons' go-to move to rid themselves of the enemies who threaten them. Some of the killings committed by various family members are easy to cover up, and the power wielded by the Dutton name allows them to get away with it. When the Duttons take those who have double-crossed them to the train station, this is doublespeak for the execution of enemies. In Season 2, the Beck brothers, Malcolm and Teal, prove powerful adversaries to John Dutton and his offspring. The Becks are real estate magnates who go to extreme measures to obtain Yellowstone for themselves. Malcolm orders horrific strikes against his new adversaries. He has Beth viciously attacked and Kayce's young son Tate kidnapped. Of course, the family retaliates. Kayce kills Teal while he sits on the toilet, and John executes Malcolm in broad daylight. And yet, no Dutton is even questioned about the murders.
Not much left for me to do but sit around and reminisce.
Throughout Yellowstone, Jamie feels worthless in his father's eyes, is the constant target of Beth's wrath, and stuffs his anger and hatred toward his adopted family inside. He constantly acts in vengeful, cowardly ways. We catch a glimpse of Jamie's potential for rash action in Season 2 when he murders journalist Sarah Nguyen. Sarah is a reporter who travels to Montana to work for Jamie's campaign for Attorney General, but she sees the potential to expose the Duttons' shady and corrupt dealings instead.
You gave her a thread, and she can weave it into whatever she wants. And you better get with her and find out exactly what it is she wants you.
An angry Jamie vents to Sarah and spills secrets to her that could destroy his family. When Sarah threatens to publish Jamie's confessions, he feels remorse and begs her not to run the story. Sarah refuses to relent, and a cornered, panicked Jamie strangles her. With the help of Rip Wheeler, Jamie stages Sarah's murder to look like a kayaking accident. Yet any autopsy would quickly reveal asphyxiation as her cause of death. And Sarah's drowning alone should send the national press into a frenzy. The only mention of her death by anyone outside of the Dutton family comes from a short televised news report. Wouldn't someone from her magazine have had a conversation with Sarah about the huge story she stumbled upon? Jamie is the family's black sheep, and the fissures in his familial relationships run deep. But he's also a Harvard-educated lawyer who ultimately becomes Montana's Attorney General. He may be a coward, but Jamie's also an intelligent man. Nonetheless, if anyone without the last name Dutton implores Jamie to trust them, he does so without hesitation. In Season 3, Jamie discovers he's adopted. He sees finding his biological father as a way to finally belong, even after learning the man murdered his biological mother. Upon their reunion, Jamie quickly buys into the lies of his father, Garrett Randall, who tells Jamie that the Duttons must be destroyed. And Jamie laps up this stranger's affection. Granted, Jamie ends up killing Garrett, but he trusts him more than the family who raised him. Then, in Season 5, Jamie jumps into bed with Sarah Atwood. She's out to destroy the Duttons and smothers him with praise. Although he wonders aloud if he's just part of her agenda, Jamie eats up Atwood's sweet words and agrees to her plans to take down John. Again, if Jamie gets even surface approval, he instantly trusts anyone. In the season 4 premiere, Beth lights a cigarette in the aftermath of an explosion that almost takes her life. The scene exemplifies her fierce resilience and makes for great television. After all, the explosion kills her assistant and leaves Beth with third-degree burns. And the show actually leaves Beth with the scars of the violence she's endured. When the burn scars covering Beth's back are revealed in an intimate season 4 scene between her and Rip, they again remind viewers of her trauma. Except, Beth never spends on-screen time in the hospital healing from her extensive burns or undergoing surgical procedures. Kelly Riley, who plays the character, explained Beth's convalescence to Parade, saying, "Taylor Sheridan said she's been in the hospital for 2 months too. She's had all those skin grafts and she probably went to the best surgeon to get her face fixed." But since none of this occurs on screen, no one ever speaks about Beth's suffering. Through the first 3 seasons of Yellowstone, John is averse to politics. When his land is threatened, he leaves the politics of prevention in Jamie's hands. But in order to thwart Jamie's run for governor, Beth is able to convince her dad that he needs to announce his own candidacy, and John agrees. When his campaign is endorsed by his friend with benefits, Montana governor and U.S. Senate candidate Linnell Perry, John's win is a foregone conclusion. John and Beth's rationale for his candidacy stems from their desire to put Jamie in his place, and despite his lack of political expertise, John is sworn into office in season 5. But then the only time he's seen in office is when he fires his entire staff. John shrugs off his gubernatorial duties and heads back to the ranch, his only desire being to protect his own land.
My only plan was to preserve my family's way of life in the land where they make it.
But surely his political adversaries and the press would blast him for his absence? In season 3, Kayce is named the new Livestock commissioner by his father. Apparently, the office can be handed down from father to son, nepotism is permissible, and livestock officers are permitted to carry firearms. Kayce's new role isn't clearly defined, but presumably, the Montana Livestock Commission is a government office that requires qualifications and, at the very least, filling out an application. Kayce served overseas in the U.S. Navy, so he's well trained with guns. But he has zero experience in law enforcement. Kayce doesn't even want the role of Livestock Commissioner and takes the position begrudgingly. By the start of season 4, gunmen are shooting up the Livestock Commission, and Kayce narrowly escapes with his life. He turns in his badge in season 5, not wanting to put his family in danger on a daily basis.
Did a lot of good with that badge. It's not my path.
Kayce doesn't follow any type of protocol while serving the Livestock Commission, and he quits simply by letting his father know he's done. In reality, Montana does have a Department of Livestock, and there are law enforcement agents employed by the department. But, agents and commissioners don't inherit their positions. Monica might be married to Kayce, but she's strong enough to stand on her own. She loves her family and isn't afraid to call out the dysfunction she sees in the rest of the Duttons. But the more time Monica spends with the Duttons, the more she feels eager to do good in the world. Thus, in season 3, when a serial killer eludes tribal police, Monica agrees to be used as bait in a sting operation set up by Chief Rainwater. Sure, sharpshooters are nearby, but Monica has to face a serial killer on her own. The thought that law enforcement would use a civilian to lure and capture a serial killer is preposterous. IndieWire called Monica the Job of Yellowstone, as she's made to suffer almost as much as the biblical character, and refers to her baiting a murderer as pointless trauma porn. As a wife, mother, and civilian, Monica's involvement in baiting a murderer just doesn't make a lot of sense. Poor Monica just can't catch a break, and in the season 5 premiere, she experiences tragedy once again. Very pregnant, she knows she's going into labor at pretty much any moment. And when the cramping gets so intense that she actually needs to seek medical attention, she decides to drive herself to the hospital? Kayce tells her he's leaving and asks her to wait, but nope, Monica gets in the car with her son Tate. That decision ends in disaster. She's in such severe pain that she swerves all over the road and eventually winds up in a horrific car accident. Monica loses the baby, and the driver of the other vehicle involved dies on impact. It's a tragic loss, but 100% preventable. If there's anything more outrageous than the Duttons repeatedly getting away with murder, it's that no one ever finds the bodies they leave behind, or their graveyard, period. About a dozen enemies of the clan die and are dumped into the no-man's land area between Thomas Rainwater's reservation and the border of the ranch in Wyoming, never to be missed, searched for, or found again. Do any of the Dutton's enemies have relatives? Apparently not. It's a ludicrously huge plot hole that's incredibly hard to ignore, and severely undermines the show's sense of dignity. It's also definitely a weird thing that everyone manages to overlook when thinking about the Dutton's my way or the highway shenanigans. The biggest missing stiff in the whole pile of lost Dutton enemies is definitely Jamie, whose choice to conspire against his adopted family, and specifically Beth, results in him being stabbed to death in his own kitchen. Then he's buried at the train station and his car is set ablaze. While all the people closest to Jamie likely won't miss him now that he's gone, the state of Montana is probably going to have some questions. That's because he's the Montana State Attorney General. Beth and Rip claim that Jamie has resigned in shame after Beth battered him in self-defense. Conveniently, no one asks a single question about Jamie at the Attorney General's office, and no one bothers to investigate Beth's tale to see if it's true. Apparently everyone in the state government is easily manipulated and very naive.